Welcome to the Lockdown Economy, a series of interviews by think tank AlterContacts, where real entrepreneurs share their insights. My name is Yulia Skupchenko, and today my guest is Shayonti Chatterji, the founder of the Urban Medley, a sustainable fashion brand. Hello, Shayonti. How are you?
Hi, Yulia. I'm fine and wonderful to see you. Looking so nice and bright in the midst of this chaotic situation we are in. A big hello from Amsterdam.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So I'm actually thrilled to have you today because I know your story is quite interesting, and it's a real story of the lockdown for a business. So one of the things that you shared with me before is that your business was founded just before the lockdown. Could you tell a bit more about that to our viewers?
I have been asked this question quite a number of times. I did not plan the corona. I did not plan it at all. And I did not plan the launch to match with corona. So as a business owner, I would like to say it was a bit of a dampener. It was a bit of a dampener because we launched literally on the eve of corona. And, this was the time when the thing was really starting in China and we were feeling we are far away. But all of a sudden it zoomed and it started impacting everyone. So definitely we were not prepared. The launch plan, the marketing plan was not geared and not planned for such a chaos. So we had to sort of adapt, modify, and move on. And that has not been easy. That has not been easy.
And maybe before we go into more details about how you adapted to the new situation, you can share the story behind the Urban Medley in general, because it is also a very interesting story on its own.
I sometimes like saying that I believe tremendously in the power of stories. And I started believing in stories much before Google decided that content is the king. And in my life, I have learned more from stories that I have shared and that people have shared with me than probably, pardon me for saying, even from books. So, and I was always fascinated by what the Indian handicrafts and artisans have to give. And I think, without going into the details of the finery and the artistry of our traditional arts, what always stood out for me was how it morphed, how the traditional art morphed to make a space in the global scenario. Because we know that there are many countries, of course, I think at this stage, we see Africa doing brilliant work and how they are bringing their handicrafts into the global stage. But I think India in some way sort of was a pioneer because they kept the traditional printing, weaving, fabrics, designs alive, but at the same time they morphed into it. They changed it in such a way that it had a global appeal. So it was not just about wearing an Indian dress, but you're wearing a scarf or you're carrying a bag made in India because it matches perfectly with your outfit, no matter where you are. So I felt that this is probably somewhere I could contribute in a small way. That is to give another launching pad. There are many launching pads to these artisans. A, they are sustainable and they're naturally sustainable. So they didn't have to change because of, the awakening that we are having now. Everything has to be sustainable. They were traditionally sustainable. And I decided to work with these designers who, they were brilliant with their own designs, but they had a conviction and they had this philosophy that they will only work with artists who are sustainable. A, they use sustainable fabrics. B, their processes are sustainable. So basically my story was, I would say the USP of the brand is twofold. A is to bring to the global audience, bring to the conscious consumers, and I'll repeat, conscious consumers, the sustainable fashion. So we contribute in reducing our carbon footprints and at the same time support these artisans, because these art forms are such that if they are not commercialized, if they do not find a global platform, they will simply die out. because these masters do not read books, they do not give courses, they just pass on their trade, their skills to the next generation. So if the next generation is not going to make money, they might as well go and do an Excel or a social media course and learn. And the world will lose. We will lose some really beautiful things. So that was the whole concept. Sorry. Yeah.
And the sustainable in this case means providing, well, first of all, of course, the saving of the arts and crafts of India, and supporting the economic growth of the artisans, and their offering them opportunities to go to the global market. And so what items are special to the Urban Medley? What items can I find in your shop?
Well, Urban Medley is focusing for the moment on accessories, which is scarves, shawls, capes. I like to call it not size specific, and so that it doesn't depend what is your size, you can use it. It doesn't depend what is your shape, you can use it. And we would like to diverse into things like bags and belts, which we have not started as yet. So it is really accessories, and I believe accessories have a wonderful fluidity to it, because you can sort of mix and match and add it to anything, whereas a dress is a dress, you put it on. But a black dress, if you have it with a white scarf, it looks very official, and you have a nice glittery jazzy scarf in the evening, you can walk into a discotheque with it. Yeah.
And I see that you're wearing a very pretty scarf yourself, or a shawl or something.
Yeah, it's a scarf, and it is from our brand, and it's one of my favorites. And
do you want to show a little bit more on a pattern that
it
has?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
it
so
is,
it looks like this snake skin or something like that, or the fish. What
yes,
is it?
It is actually, all the designs are nature inspired. So it is a leaf actually. But what is more important is this is what you call a piece silk. Not many people know that silk is made by boiling the silkworms, which is very, very cruel. Whereas in piece silk, what happens is you wait for the silkworm to discharge the cocoon. So the silkworm grows, develops into a butterfly, flies out, leaving the cocoon behind. And it cuts through the cocoon when it is growing and moving out. So it is only after that the artisans pick up the cocoon and start weaving the yarn. Now,
incredible. I actually never thought about that dimension to silk, really.
Many people, when I reach out, people say, how can silk be sustainable? It's so cruel. No, there is something called a piece silk. And the difficulty of this product is because they cut it, so you have tiny pieces of threads left. So the weaving process becomes much more difficult. Whereas if you kill them, the whole cocoon is intact and you get a single thread when you're weaving. So yes, this is made of piece silk. And of course, it is hand woven and hand printed.
Well, that is a very good example of how a truly sustainable product can arrive into our market, which is overfilled with the global mass produce. And if we go back to the main topic of the interview, so the lockdown, and you said that you had to adapt quite a lot. And I know that for many businesses who rely on their suppliers, the supply relationships were also quite difficult, because some orders were canceled, some people refused to pay, some people couldn't pay, some suppliers went bankrupt because they were not paid. So how did the whole thing affect you?
It was almost a existential sort of a scenario for me. I mean, because obviously I was not able to participate in various offline events where I wanted the consumers to come, feel, touch the product. So obviously sales were not taking place. And when a new brand starts, it's quite an uphill task to sort of, develop the brand, reach out to the people. But I realized one thing, that of course it was a drain on resources. It was difficult, that I had to stay relevant. So even though there was a corona, because I saw a couple of brands, which had a message on their site that we are not working now, or we are not shipping. I think as a person with a specialty in business development, I think that was a wrong step. Of course, I'm no one to judge, because everybody has their own reasons for doing the same. Because even though there was a calamity, the world was in an absolute turmoil. as a business, you could be conscious, you could take your message out and stay relevant to the people. So you don't have to be ashamed that you are marketing your business at a time when, there is this kind of a pandemic. There is nothing wrong in it, because we all have our roles to play in an economy. I cannot be a doctor, I cannot be a nurse. I'm extremely sympathetic and respectful towards what they are doing, but there is no harm if I talk about the business. I talk about it consciously. You don't have to scream buy my product, and talk about the product, talk about your journey, your story, because we want a brand is now today, the brand has moved away from the product, it is into the story. So I think it was a brilliant time when you could share your stories, your views, your values with the consumers had time, good or bad. People had a lot of time, and you need to be mindful of what is happening, but there is no harm in marketing. So I think that was the decision I took, that I would continue on social. In addition to that, I reached out to various platforms who were conscious about sustainability, who are writing about sustainability. And I have to say that, the response time sometimes was much quicker than otherwise, because everybody kind of is restricted within this home zone, and they are seeing their emails, they're writing, they're talking back to you. So I think the marketing and I won't say sales pitch, but definitely the marketing and to be there, to catch the eyeballs, was a decision that I definitely took. It also gave me an opportunity to sort of once again go back to, what should be the policy, because we still don't know how the market is going to react and what is going to happen. But we could, sort of try and think and define the next necessary steps. So it gave us a little breathing time. And another thing that I want to highlight, because there has been a lot of talk where the bigger brands, I don't want to name any, how they kind of totally moved away and refused to pay their suppliers in developing countries. I think that was absolutely horrible, because all said and done, these brands are strong, they were big, they do have certain amount of reserves, and to be so unmindful of the people and their misery, I think it was just absolutely disgusting. Me as a small brand, I had an order. My suppliers are based in Chennai in India, and I still haven't received the products. My supplier is unable to even send it because of the serious lockdown in India. E-commerce had stopped, postal services had come to a standstill. But I remember her sending me a mail with one line, Shayonti, I need to pay the workers. They need to go back to their villages. And believe me, after that, I couldn't think of course, the amounts are small. We are not talking in terms of millions and billions, but whatever it was, for me, it was a substantial amount. And I just didn't have the heart even to discuss or even stall the payment. And I think that is a sentiment many small businesses have shown. And I think that is how the small businesses have scored quite high compared to the other bigger brands. So this was the time to show your, ethics, business ethics, your social responsibility, and of course, prove yourself to be of relevance. Reach out to people, talk to people. So I think even though it was a pandemic, there was a lull in the business, there was quietness, there's no need to sort of take a back step and forget everything and shut your doors, because some people I know have done it, and I think that's not the right thing to do. And strange enough, there are young entrepreneurs who have said that they have had some of their best months during this time.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been quite a different journey for different businesses and for different entrepreneurs as well. And you took a very noble step of keeping all your suppliers fed, which is not easy for a business but just started. Definitely. And which was not making any profit or any sales whatsoever. I mean, that's quite a brave thing to do, and quite admirable. So, can you just shortly share what is your outlook onto the future, next couple of months or so? What do you envision for yourself?
Well, for myself, I will have to say that as things are opening out, I would like to reach out to more people. I would like to look at offline opportunities, because my feeling is that, after having been locked down for so long, people would be literally yearning for, to go out, to step into the shop,
Yeah,
to touch and
absolutely.
feel a
Yeah.
product. That's a psychological thing that people have been deprived of. So try to see if I can make inroads there. And yes, be mindful of the financial constraints. Maybe once again, deep dive into the pricing policy of the brand. Maybe we could do something with the pricing. Maybe, and I think more importantly, one has to look into smart marketing. So, it is not just about advertising. Try and see what you can get organically. Try and see with, experts and community influencers, if you can work with them. Because I think what the pandemic has got into people is this strange feeling of how connected we are and how important it is for all of us to help each other, whether we want it or not, whether we like it or not. That is a reality. And for me, I think that is the biggest message that is coming through, that, we have to be connected. We have to lift each other, even if it means just liking a post and sharing a post. So I
That
think
is a very beautiful message, that we are connected whether we want it or not, and it's better to support each other. And I
absolutely.
hope that now that people are coming out from the lockdown, there will be more interest in accessorizing beautifully, because the summertime is coming, and hopefully people who are watching this video are also getting interested about looking at the website, just maybe picking at what you have there and what is the story. And so thank you very much, Shayonti, for sharing this with us.
And thank you, Yulia, for this whole idea. Thanks to AlterContacts for giving us this platform. And I really hope that, people reach out to sustainable businesses, because they have to understand they're not just buying from the seller, but there is this whole supply chain, which is consisting of small marginalized artisans and workmen who do need a support, who do need to be protected. And we cannot keep looking at the establishments in the world. We know what they are doing, but we cannot keep looking at them. And, many people, I want to end by saying one small thing. Many people have this misconception that sustainable fashion is expensive. That's not true. Do you remember how, these special organic food in the supermarkets were extremely expensive and they were kept under this lock and key? But today, as more and more of us are, sort of adapting to that, the prices are coming down. And it's the same thing for sustainability.
Well, let's hope that people heard this message and they will be embracing the sustainable brands in food and clothing and other things, and be more conscious about what they're choosing. So thank you very much, Shayonti. Thank you everyone who joined us today. If you want to contact Shayonti, I know she's very open-minded about sharing her experience in business and in sustainable business especially. You can find her information in the text below the video. And I invite you to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. In the coming weeks, we are going to share many more insights with you. So stay tuned, and bye.
Bye.